yesterday appeared before Parliament for the very first time since December, when he abruptly resigned. And to get into the detail of what actually happened, I am now joined by Lester Kiewit, who actually attended that briefing. Now, Lester, I mean, in the beat that I watched initially, I mean, he spoke of perceptions of irregularities. He still doesn't think anything untoward happened during his tenure as a CEO.
That's right. An incredulous Markus Jooste would not believe that he had anything to do with the downfall of his now former company, a company that he stressed several times during his testimony towards the Joint Parliamentary Committee that he had worked for 29 years of his life, traveling as much as 200 days a year trying to build this global company. Markus Jooste saying that it is a number of effects which had that he believes led to the downfall of Steinhoff. This starting with a deal gone wrong with a Austrian businessman in one of the Steinhoff's German offices. He says that after that business deal went sour, this particular Austrian businessman had reported him or reported the company rather to German tax authorities in order to gain leverage during a civil case. Markus Jooste saying that is one of the reasons why Germany had started investigating. Coming closer back to home, Markus Jooste blaming the board of Steinhoff, saying that they had not prepared audited financial results in December, and that had also led to the collapse of the share value of the Steinhoff shares, in which government's pension schemes are heavily invested in. So plenty of reasons Markus Jooste giving the portfolio committee, but none being pointed at himself, saying that while he does take responsibility as the CEO of the time, and therefore he decided to resign from the company on the 4th of December, Markus Jooste saying his hands are clean and he has nothing to say sorry for.
Even his lawyers didn't escape his blame projection game. He blamed them for advising him not to appear before Parliament the previous times that he was asked.
That's right. Markus Jooste was expected to appear before Parliament as early as January this year, just a month after that Steinhoff story broke. We mustn't forget why Parliament is so deeply invested in this story. It's that because 1.1 million government employees' pensions are invested in Steinhoff, the PIC being a major investor in that private company. The PIC obviously managing the pension schemes of government employees, and that is why Parliament felt that it wanted to be involved in the story. Markus Jooste telling Parliament that seeing that he resigned from the company as early as 4th of December, that he didn't feel it was necessary for him to appear before Parliament, seeing that Parliament had called Steinhoff and not Markus Jooste by name to appear. But today's appearance all coming to a head after Parliament had even gone as far as the courts to try and subpoena Markus Jooste. In chambers, the lawyers of Jooste and Parliament had come to a decision that Jooste would attend Parliament, but he would only speak broadly about government's regulatory framework and how that could have affected the collapse of Steinhoff shares.
And one couldn't help but notice just how he tried as much as he could to evade questions around how much he personally and his family lost in what happened subsequent to his actions.
That's right. There was a question in whether Markus Jooste was financially invested in terms of shares in Steinhoff. If you can remember at the time, Steinhoff losing about 95% of its share value, making those Steinhoff shares almost worthless. Markus Jooste saying that initially only giving a share number, saying that his family trust had lost 68 million shares in Steinhoff, and only once pressed by MPs, then later admitting that the family trust losing at about 3 billion rand. But this obviously left MPs with more questions. If you are an individual that loses 3 billion rand overnight, surely you would want answers as well. You would want to get to the bottom of what happened in this process. So plenty of questions, and more questions than answers, rather, well, one would argue. Remember, this was somewhat a cat and mouse game. Remember, Parliament could only speak broadly over the regulatory structure of the regulatory framework, which could have led to the downfall of Steinhoff. But MPs, knowing that they couldn't directly ask Markus Jooste, trying other tactics to try for him to somewhat expose himself. But as you said, Markus Jooste coming to today's hearings with 2 senior counsels and also a team of attorneys, he was well prepared for the questions being asked by MPs.
Well, the only people he seemed keen to spare, Leicester, and I don't know if I'm reading too much into it, were actually their auditors, Deloitte, because he didn't seem to think that, in fact, he seemed to think that they did a great job. Thank you very much.
Yeah, there's some really confusing aspects regarding the Deloitte report. Markus Jooste saying that initially Deloitte had, after that, the German tax authorities had probed the German side of the company, that Deloitte had then had started a probe and started auditing the company then. Then they'd said that there'd be no evidence of any financial or accounting irregularities at the time. But later, it does appear as if that profits were inflated. This is at least is an accusation of the former Chief Financial Officer, Ben Legrandje, that the profits of Steinhoff were artificially inflated. The company is now waiting for that PwC report, that forensic audit report, on seeing just exactly what happened to Steinhoff, what exactly led to the devaluing of its shares by as much as 95%, and if anyone, who can be held responsible for that.
Okay, that's why we're going to leave it for now. Lester Kiewit in Parliament.